Okay, so I wanted to go back to what we were looking at before as it pertained to Daniel 12. I'm outside. Sounds terrible. It's very windy, and I know my mic is picking up all kinds of wind. So we are in Daniel 12, and it reads, let's start at verse 11. From the time the daily sacrifice is abolished and the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. Happy is the one who waits for and reaches 1,335 days. All right, but as for you, go on your way to the end. You will rest, and then you will stand to receive your allotted inheritance at the end of the days. Okay, so in the previous study, I explained what the 1,290 days and the 1,335 days refer to. And we also decided to go over Daniel 8, where it talks about the evenings and mornings. And here it says in verse 14, right? There we are. He said to me, for 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary will be restored. Okay, some translations say cleansed. All right, so this is pretty much where we're picking up at. Now, I did my Enoch calendar, and I told you the calendar that I was using to work out these numbers, and it's this one where we have our first day of the week on a Wednesday, which will be like our Wednesday. I'm not necessarily saying it's a Wednesday. I would prefer to say the fourth day of the week. Okay, but just for the sake of reference, it will be like a Gregorian Wednesday. Okay, now this is a calendar, and then we had our intercalary days. There are 4 in a year. 1, 2, 3, 4. We had them on the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th months, right? And then remember when we did our math, we figured that the 30th day landed us on the 30th, which isn't a significant feast day. It was 4 days off. And I suspected that it was because of those intercalary days, right? However, our count for the 75th day puts us right smack dab on Feast of Weeks, which is in Sivan, which is month 3, on the 15th, according to the Book of Jubilees. So now, when I was working out the evenings and mornings, remember we decided that according to Maccabees, the temple that was desecrated during that time, it was cleansed on the 25th of Kislev, which is the 9th month. But when you actually do the math, when you divided up the 2,300 evenings and mornings, we got to 1,150 days, and we did the count forward, remember? Or actually we went backwards, and we began using the 25th day, and it got us somewhere like to the 16th, which is not a significant day. But when we used the 10th as our start date, it got us to Trumpets, which is a feast day, right? We counted backwards 110 days to get to that 10th day, right? It didn't land us on the 25th, which is Hanukkah. All right. So I said, remember, I was like, I'm going to try this in another video and figure out if it's the intercalary days that are causing some of the numbers to be off, especially between here, because between the 10th and the 25th, there are 15 days. But when using this calendar, I was counting my intercalary days and where they fall during the year. I wasn't coming up with 15 intercalary days. I was coming up with only 12. All right. So if you do it this way, I would have had 2 intercalary days because they will be at the end of the year, because we're starting at the halfway mark of year 4. So that means we only have 1 and 2 intercalary days. And then we have all 4 in years 5 and 6. And then we would have another 2 in year 7, because we would actually have another 4 in year 7. So then that would be, what would that be? That would still be off by, it would be 13 days, I think. There would be 8 times 3 is 12, 13, 14. It would only be 14 days, so we would be off by 1 day. And I think God is precise. So I was like, let me figure out something else. So I did another calendar, and I will show that to you here. And you can make the same one, and I can just show you what I did. Now, according to the book of Enoch, he tells us that there are 30 days in every single month. And there are 4 intercalary days to adjust our calendar to the solar movement of the sun, right? It's not lunar, it's solar. It will be 4 days off. Okay, so we have 4 intercalary days to account for so that our calendar adjusts. Okay, now usually we would put those days in the middle of the year, right? But those days are technically not supposed to be counted, all right? And so we have to adjust for them, is what I'm thinking. Because he says that we don't count those days, and because we do count those days, that we will go wrong, is what he tells us. And he's right. Because your feast days will be off. All right, so I did this calendar here. All right. And when I did it this way, I still started day 1 on the 4th day of the week, but I took out the intercalary days in the 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th months. I have it so that all 12 months have 30 days. And I even went ahead and shifted. So where I have the 30th, which was usually a 31st on my previous calendar, I have the 30th being on the 2nd day, and then I went ahead and started my 1st day of the next month on the 3rd day. I did that for all of the months where we originally had our intercalary days. And so every month has 30 days. And to adjust, what we do is we make the adjustment at the very end, which is technically the way that it would actually be, because you'll be short 4 days at the end of the year, and you're going to adjust for 4 days, and you're not going to begin the count for the new year until the day after the 4th intercalary day. Okay, and this makes it so that your seasons stay set. Okay, your seasons won't shift. Your seasons will be the same every year. They won't shift. Okay, and that's important for the feast days because they're based on an agricultural calendar. Okay, so now or let me say an agricultural cycle. All right. And it's important because prophecy is based on those cycles. Okay. So they need to be constant and consistent, and they can't shift around from year to year. So there has to be a self-adjustment so that they're always in line with the sun. And when the spring equinox, I believe, begins, the spring equinox is what begins the new year. Something like that is the way that I understand it. That's my limited understanding of how this all works. So then, and this is proven because at the end of the Enoch calendar, I'm ending the 30th day on the 6th of the year. But look, when you go to the very next year, our day 1 is on the 4th. That's a 4-day gap. Those are the 4 intercalary days to help us adjust with the spring solstice. Okay. And correct me if I'm saying this wrong. I haven't really brushed up on my equinox and solstices and stuff like that. I'm going to, but I'm regurgitating what I've kind of heard as I was looking this up. But I like to really dig in and do the math and draw diagrams and really have a good firm understanding of it. And right now I just don't. So I'm just going with the fly on what I've been picking up from other sources. Okay. So you see that 4-day difference, and I have those intercalary days in blue. See, there's 1 there, and then there's 2 here. All right. So now that we have those days there, I went ahead and did the count again. And what you can see is that the 30 days, if you begin, so now that you're at the 1260th day, And now we're trying to figure out the 1,290th day, right? Which is 30 days over 1,260 days. You begin your count here because you have another day in the week, okay? So boom, you would count 1, you would count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. See that? 30. Why is that important? That's the day after the Sabbath, which begins the count for Pentecost. In other terms, it's first fruits, according to the book of Jubilees. It's the day after the Sabbath. This is in Leviticus as well. Okay? Right? This is Passover, right? The first day of unleavened bread, which goes for 7 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It should actually end on the 21st. The 22nd isn't right. So it would actually end on the 21st. The next Sabbath is the 25th. And you begin the count the day after the Sabbath, which is the 26th. It's on the money. It's the 30th day when you account for the intercalary days, okay? So now we have to try to account for the 1,335th day, which we computed was 75 days over the 1,260th day. So beginning the count from here and then going forward, counting. I'm not going to do each one of these days. You just have to trust me here, and you can double check my count later. But it will land you, the 75th day will be on the 11th of the third month, right? Right here. It's windy outside, guys. Sorry. It would be here. How many days off is it? You've guessed it. 4 days. 1, 2, 3. Fourth day. So yes, it is the intercalary days. That is throwing off the count, okay? But that's good because it's consistent, right? So it still puts you on the 15th, which we know is Feast of Weeks or Pentecost or Shavuot, okay? Those are important, all right? Those are important dates. Now, let's look at the other day, the 2300 evenings and mornings, right? And remember, I originally did the count backwards because we figured that 1,150 days, we got that number, taking 2,300 evenings and mornings. 1 evening, 1 morning equals 2 to come with 1 24-hour day, right? So you take 2,300 divided by 2, you get 1,150 days, right? And we calculated that is 110 days too short of the 1,260 days given in Scripture, right? So we counted backwards 110 days using the 30th as our 1,260th day. And we're counting back 110 days to see what the 1,150th day is. So counting backwards, the only feast that we know that's in month 9 is the 25th, which is Hanukkah, which commemorates the restoration of the Jewish temple back to Israel. But it doesn't land on the 25th. Doing the count backwards, it doesn't land you on the 25th. It lands you on the 11th. I'm like, seriously? It lands you on the 11th, right? It doesn't even land you on the 10th, which is what we determined using the other calendar, right? It lands you on the 11th, so it's 1 day off. Or actually, I think it landed me on the 12th. It was one of those 2 days, but it wasn't the 10th, right? So I said, okay, I just think counting backwards is not the right way to do it. I think we need to count forward. And so we're starting our count on the Feast of Trumpets. Why? Because it is the middle of the week, right? Based on Daniel, the abomination of desolation, desecration of the temple, when he stops the oblation and all that stuff, it begins on the middle of the week, okay? The middle of a year is month 7, day 1, okay? 6 months. That's 180 days complete, or half a year complete. And we start the middle right there on the 1st. That's trumpets, right? All right. So that's Feast of Trumpets. And then it also says something that it says once the vision, the 2,300 evening mornings, he says, when he gives that vision, he talks about the desecration, the army being unbroken. And then he also talks about the oblation stopping. Okay, so he gives us what piece of the vision we're starting is the starting point. All right, that's this date right here, the middle of the week, according to Daniel in another chapter. All right, so we're going to count forward. So we're going to say this is our 4th year in the middle of the week on the 1st of the 7th month. Count through would be 180 days, okay? 180 days. And then you will cycle through another year. Our year 5 would be 360. Our year 6 would be 360. And then all of year 7 would be another 360 days, okay? But we only need 1,150 days, not the full 1,260, right? So then we will cycle through 180 days. We will cycle through 360 and 360, and then we would only have 65 days left, I think. Maybe 360 days left. I think that's what that comes up to. So we have 360 days left. So now we would be in our 7th year, and we need to account for 260 days. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 250 days, I think. This gets us to month 8, okay? So now we have 260 days and now 50 days, and now we need 10 more. Well, that gets us to the 10th, which is what we got on the other calendar. All right. So we're still left in the same dilemma where we need to account for these 2 days. But now the intercalary days works out on this calendar instead of the other one, where I only came up with at least 12 or 13, okay? Or 14. So we have, if this is our 4th year, right? And we're counting from the beginning of the year, we've got 3 intercalary days here until we get to the middle of the week. So we would count those. So I marked it here. In the 4th year, we've got 3 intercalary days, okay? And then in our 5th year, we have a full year, right? This is our 5th year now. We have a full year. And so we have 3 intercalary days plus the 1 from the previous year, right? Yes. And then we cycle through again to the 6th year. Again, we have the 3 intercalary days plus the 1 here, right? And the same for the 7th year. We'd have the 3 intercalary days from the in the beginning of the year plus the 1 from the previous year, right? So then that's 4. So now we've got 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12 plus 3 is 15 intercalary days. Boom. So if you account for those 15 days, you would land exactly on the 25th, which is Purim. Not Purim. Yes, not Purim. That's Esther. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. That's in Adar. What is it, guys? Hanukkah. Sorry, Hanukkah. Based on the book of Maccabees. All right. That's the adjustment. Exactly 15 days. It's exactly 15 days. Okay. So it is those intercalary days that's throwing off the count, no doubt. All right. So I'm glad I did this, because that gives me greater confidence on that I have figured out what I thought I figured out, and it was just the intercalary days that was making it not exact. Okay. Please try this on your own and let me know what you come up with. Okay. That's all I have for this study. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. So guys, just one thing, I kind of muddled this up when I was saying it, and I just want it to be clear. All right. We've got 1,150 days. Subtract out 180, 360, 360. Then you have 250 days left that you need to count for. I think I said 260 once. I think I said 360 another minute. I knew what I was trying to say, but I muddled those words up, and I just want to make sure that you understand exactly what I'm saying, okay? So that's 250 days, right? So then you have 8 months times 30 days is 240 days, which landed us in what we said, what was the 8th month, right? Here. So then you have 10 days to account for, which lands you on the 10th of Kislev, which is the 9th month, okay? All right, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And then we adjust 15 days for the intercalary days, which gets you right on Hanukkah, which is the 25th. And that's really important, because I know that there are some teachings out there that Hanukkah is not a real day that was provided by God. You know, God was silent during that time, I've heard, and so he wouldn't have been speaking to give them that day. But God, when it says he was silent, it doesn't mean that his spirit ever ceased to operate, all right, within his people. All that means is that he wasn't speaking through the prophets to his people, okay? That was the peace that was silent. But it doesn't mean that by his providence that still things would not work out for the favor of his people. I think that is going to always be the case because he's always in control. There's never a moment that he's not in control, especially when it pertains to Israel, right? So I just think that's something to point out. And the fact that this count is based on a number provided in our scriptures and Maccabees is not included in our scriptures, I think that alone solidifies Hanukkah as a day that is ordained by God. That's my 2 cents on it. If you disagree, leave me a comment in the comment section and let's discuss it, okay? All right, that's all I got for you guys. Bye.